we were talking about hockey sense, female hockey players versus male. Is there a difference? Tom didn't think there was, but um, I mean, what do you think, Cassie? And of course, you maybe haven't observed male minor hockey as much, but you did in coaching 3 years ago at U13 female with Tom.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
I'm assuming that young ladies are far more receptive to thinking and wanting to understand and know the why and what is happening.
um, you know what? It's funny when I went back with the national team. Um, that was one thing I was surprised that the I don't want to say lack of, because God, these players, as Sammy knows, are 80 times better than we were. But honestly, they kind of didn't have hockey sense. They were so skilled and just, you know, like robots. Like they kind of did the same things all the time. And that was one thing I kind of noticed. I think as we've gotten so skilled based over the years, and um more individual skill stuff, like I think, we're less outside on the rinks, where there's less sort of like flowy kind of think as you go hockey, like Tom's drills, the one where you have to do scissor passes first, Tom, the 4-on-4, the 5-on-5 in each zone, and the stuff that kind of makes you think. Like I think we got away from that a while. We were so focused on our skills that we forgot about teaching hockey sense, or doing more drills that just allowed for improvisation. So um I'm not sure if I'm answering the question right, but I do think that it's not as prevalent as it once was. Like the Goyettes, like Goyette, I mean, she was so skilled too, but like she thought the game.
Yeah.
She taught me more. No disrespect to you, Wally, but I learned a ton from her playing with her. Right? Think she taught me things that Sauvageau or Mel or anyone really, like, she just saw the game, and I don't think we have that as much. You know, Jenner, I would say, is the most cerebral current player, hockey sense wise. And she's had to become that too, just to keep her career going. So um, but yeah, they were very robotic in everything they did. Like, you know,
Yeah. Well, back in that day when you were practicing playing with the Oval team, we talked about Joan Vickers, who was doing research on decision training, and she observed me run a practice with her class, and I got raked for the quality of my practice after because it was deliberate. Pass here, shoot here. I was yelling instructions, telling them what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And in the review with Jacques Thibault in charge of the facility, he let me know, he said, you better have a chat with Joan because from her point of view, your practice is behind the time.
yeah,
And I did and discovered, yeah, I was telling them what to do. Everything I did was deliberate. That was the old school thinking. They weren't allowed to think for themselves. And I wasn't good at that. I got better, but I've gotten better since I left Hockey Canada at developing that sense of let them play and figure things out
hmm,
for themselves and make decisions for themselves.
yeah.
But it's interesting. We had talked about Joan earlier in this call, and I want, I got to
How do
bring
I
up
know that name? Why did what? I
Dr.
apologize.
Joan Vickers. She did research at the U of C. She
Yeah.
was a specialist in decision making and training, and she works with the police forces in terms of under pressure decisions and
Okay.
their vision and their processing information and under stress. And she did projects at the U of C with the. I think you may have been on the ice when she was recording, and we had a camera recording the one-on-one situation, which
Yeah.
might become a 2-on-1. And there was a camera on the defender's eyes attached to the helmet and a camera facing outward from the defender's eyes. And Tom had to break that video down in terms of, was it a good play, a bad play, in terms of the final result. And we discovered in the research that the best decisions were made by the people whose eyes were the quietest.
Oh, I remember we did that eye thing. Didn't
it.
we have something on our heads or something?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the one.
Okay, I remember. Okay, I have a question for you guys, and I know it's my first one, so who am I to be asking questions? But do you think goalies have the most hockey IQ of any player? It's just we don't necessarily see it just because, of their position, but the way they have to watch the game. And do you think that's...
So I talked about this a little bit earlier, Cass. I'll go first as the goalie. And it's just a very different IQ. So the measurement quotient and everything is different. So when we're teaching young goalies, it's the same thing as teaching players. So I do find that there is a lack of intuition because there's so much skill being taught. But teaching the goalie how to read the stick, read the play, read the angle of the stick, the amount of pressure the player's putting on it, you can describe all of that, but until you actually are in the situation and making decisions and talking about those decisions, I mean, that's one thing Wally and Tom really stresses, thinking ahead and being able to debrief with other people, like, what did you see? What happened there? So I now play rec hockey. I play 4 times a week. I love it, but I play out, right? And so my once again, I was telling these guys, like, I first step on the ice, and this is pre-hip surgery, but like the game seems so fast. Like, these are women that just started playing, but it just seems so quick, and I couldn't like keep up, and all I could do was look at my stick, and I didn't know where the next puck was going. I'd take slap shots and breakaways because I didn't know I was on a breakaway. And then slowly you start to open that vision. And so as soon as when I first started in my own D zone, I felt like I had this huge scope of what I could see. I could make that breakout pass. I could do everything. Neutral zone, I felt like, okay, I don't feel as confident. And then I just black out in the offensive zone. Like, I didn't even know what was happening. It was like so fast. So that's gotten better, I think, with time and being out there. But by no means does it mean that I had that hockey IQ that I had at the elite level just naturally because I then suddenly was out. So I don't think it's a translatable IQ. It would be like being an engineer versus being a scientist. Like, it's not, you don't know the same information, but you do know it from your perspective, I guess. So slowly getting that, I guess, field of view to open up. But I think we do see the game differently. It's a totally different game. I mean, we're like a kicker in football, right? You're not playing the same game at all. You're just on the same ice surface. So, I mean, I'd like to think that we're smarter, but I don't think that that's really the case at all.
But in essence, though, maybe you just didn't have the skills playing out. Like, obviously you're a goalie, right?
Oh yeah, I've been learning. Yeah, it's been.
Yeah, but I wonder, like, as you felt more comfortable in your position out, if then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, well, this is the play I wish that forwards made or the D made, or like, as you got more comfortable in your physical skills, would the hockey IQ come out from when you were a goalie?
I mean, it might come out a little bit quicker because you've seen it at that level versus the other adult rec players I play with. Now, Cass, on Tuesday nights, we have a game of like former CWHL players. So I play out with them. So like Michelle Bonello, Clarkey, Latoya Clark, Martine Garland, Tessa Bonham. So like these players played at the top level. So now me seeing them and their hockey IQ, like, yeah, some are not in as good a shape, but seeing what they can do out there, I feel like I could maybe pick it up quicker than just an average rec hockey player. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I know, what should happen. And you're right, my skills don't necessarily take me in that position, but like things that I find myself doing wrong. Like I feel like I'm trying to support the puck and I'm always just like a play behind, or like I was telling these guys, I do a lot of like passes where I don't get to the middle and I'm doing suicide passes all the time or like things like that. But the fact that I can like think about it and learn. So
do you know, I coached
they say the
Michelle
goalies
Bonello when she was in Adam.
No way.
And the other teams used to complain that I shouldn't be allowed on the bench because I played on the national team.
I heard that Tom said that was happening these days, that you guys were getting in trouble for having too good of a coach.
not in trouble, but just comments like that. Coach, that's not fair.
Yeah. No, it's and it's funny because this year, because Brooke made Tom's team, and she's a bubble player, and I had nothing to do with the process of the evaluation. I was there as a parent, but and then Tom was just like, hey, can you just help us on the ice, because they were minus a couple of coaches with school and stuff. And I was like, sure, but you better make sure it's good for the parents, because that's the last thing I want to, first of all, put pressure on my kid, right? But so then they had to get special exemption. Like they had to talk to Hockey Alberta to say, hey, can she coach? And they were like, well, yeah. But anyway.
I want to know, because we talk a lot about, I get to see these guys all the time and hearing from their wealth of knowledge, but you get to coach with Tom now. So like,
yeah,
what makes Tom such a great coach from your perspective?
2 years ago, I coached with him, and like legitimately as part of the coaching staff, and not that I'm not legitimately this year, but honestly, like first off, the drills and the knowledge, like in the brain of him and how he approaches things, and the fact that he treats these girls as if they're, playing at the top level, even at U13. And obviously the drills are slightly different, but not much. Like I think first and foremost, the respect he has for the game, and that regardless if it's men's or women's, it's all the same. I think that's the first thing I noticed. And I think, going back to Hockey IQ, like a lot of times he does the drills, 2 years ago, he'd really write them out on the board for the kids so they could see it. But this year he gives them the practice plan ahead of time, and he doesn't do a lot of stuff at the board. And it's about Hockey IQ, like watch the drill. Here's the points of the drill, and let's go. But just the knowledge, and the stories. I think the stories are really fun. Some of them I hear, a few times in a row, but I still love them. I still soak them up, and I'll say something like, I'm trying to get the girls to talk a little bit more, because they're so quiet on the ice. And I believe that if you talk more on the ice, you'll play like a second faster. And Tom would say, yeah, but then everyone knows where you are. Like the defensemen know where you are. Like he just makes you think, and as a coach, and he makes you think, I think, as a player, and he's demanding, like I think he would be from a, university men's team on these U15 players, and not in a bad way. I don't mean over demanding, but just the expectations are the same, like about performance. And the way he kind of simplifies the game too at the same time, like a big thing for our group is D to D and making simple plays, and but the demand part of that, and just not letting go of not letting them off the hook for anything, and playing as a team. A lot of this age group. How old's your daughter, Sammy?
8.
Yeah, so this group right up until about now, from your daughter's age till right up about now, the really good players can continue to just go through the team, and but eventually next year U18 they won't be able to do that, and so he coaches like a team game, and he did that 2 years ago at U13. And he doesn't let it's not that he doesn't want players to go end to end, because if they go, they go, but like he really demands a team game that I think long term will be better for these players.
We talked a little bit about that before you got on, that Wally said he noticed like there could have been times where it could have been done to chase. There could have been times where he could have regrouped. But I said maybe because Tom is so emphasis on passing that he's making better players in the long run. He's playing the long game to make sure that they're good with the puck and they get touches now. So you might be losing on maybe that shot first mentality. You might be losing on other aspects of the game, but that what he's teaching. And do you notice like that your girls are so much better passers because of his mentality?
Yeah, for sure. And when we get away from it, we're not as good. And when our individual stars just play individual, we're not as good. But at the same time, he still wants girls to make plays, like I think of Ash, Tom, like she's so good and she can drive wide and finish. And I don't think he's taking the individual skill out of their game. He's just asking them to play a more complete game at an early age, which I think if you can learn that at an early age, you're going to be better for it in the long term. And I know for my kid, like, again, my kid's, sort of in that lower echelon of if you were going to rank everybody, um, but she's a good teammate and he sees the potential in her. And to be honest with you, Tom, she's maybe one of the ones that has a lot of hockey IQ. She just doesn't necessarily have she knows where to be and she knows how to support. It's just that skill set. And we've never put her in extra stuff until she didn't make fire last year. And then she was like, Mom, I gotta do power skating. I gotta do dry line. And we're like, hey, bud, we'll put you in whatever you want, but you need to initiate it with us. And now it's, you can slowly see the progression. But he sees the potential in kids too. So that's been really beneficial for us. And, my plan this year wasn't to coach. I knew that going in, and it was sad. I'm not gonna lie. I miss being on the bench, but, then when it came about where our girls are, in university classes and stuff, and he needed help, sometimes it's just me and Tom. So I love being on the ice with the kids and, yeah, but learning from him, Sammy, honest to God, like I want to coach now. Like I want to be a coach. It's given me that bug and just the intricacies of how he thinks the game. And
this has just been a Tom
neat.
appreciation seminar.
Yeah, go Tom.
Tom, your head, like watch out. You're not gonna be able to go through doors now. I mean, we've known this for so long, but it's nice to get somebody that like actually coaches with him. Yeah.
He lets me say things though, like, like not that I challenge him by any means, but I'll think differently on something. And, he listens to those things, he's not just like, oh, no, this is the way we're going to do it. I think, and with all due respect, a man of his generation could easily be that way. And I find that he's just extremely open still and encouraging. Like you watch Emily and Mila, who are his assistant coaches, who at some point he's coached, and the respect that they have for him. Like here's two young women, 23-ish years old, basically giving up their life to coach this team and to coach with Tom. And that's the truth. They just want to soak it all in. And I think that just shows the respect in him, where they could be out and having a good time with their friends and doing different things, and they want to give back to the game. And yeah, it's pretty remarkable, actually.
Cool. Love
Cassie, I got a question. I'm always been curious about Tom coaching with his son and the dynamics of that. Can you comment on that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think that's another thing too. The respect that Jim has for his dad, first and foremost. He's a busy guy, a lawyer, has two jobs right now, trying to balance this. Plus, he's getting married and having a social life. And the respect and love and admiration is evident. It's completely evident. He wants to coach with his father, and there's no question about it. But I have seen, Tom would like the wingers to be higher in our zone and be right on the D. And so when they get the pass, they can, whereas Jim wants the forwards to be lower in the zone. And so I've seen them debate that. And I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if Tom knows this, sometimes I'm like the venting sponge. I don't know if that's the right word, but the person that people vent to. And, they have different philosophies on some things. And the dynamic of how they deal with it is good because they don't deal with it on the ice in front of the kids there. It's always, in the dress coach's room or at home, I'm sure, or when they go out for a beer. But they do have different philosophies and even line combinations but Jim watches the games when he can't be there. He watches the games at home on Flow Hockey, and he's giving feedback before the game on the opposition, and Tom respects that and knows that it's bang on. Like we had a game the other day where if we kept F3 high, we were going to create a lot of turnovers in offense, and that's exactly what happened. And we ended up winning 7-0. We found our forwards F3 in the quiet areas, and they got a ton of chances and a few goals off that. And that was all from feedback that Jim had given Tom prior to the game, watching the opposition. So it's a pretty, obviously a special relationship as father and son, but I think the lifelong memories that they've created and the bond that they've created through coaching together, it's been pretty fun to watch. And even when they don't agree, it's still it's a special relationship, and you can see that from the outside looking in.
Well, Tom, I'm not sure who to talk to when I have things to share and wonder about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I had a talk with Jim on the way out of practice the last day, and I asked him the question when you and Cassie, they did that one pass rule in every zone, and it was a 5-on-5 scrimmage. And I love that one pass rule to the point where it helps them think pass. But in that scrimmage, they turned the puck over at the far blue line trying to make the pass, and they had such speed, I thought they could have dumped it. So, we've had that conversation this morning. I had the conversation with Jim, and, he made sense. He says, at this age, we still want them to complete passes. And
Yeah.
I think they've reached a point like when you do that drill at that time and turn the puck over, if you really want to complete the pass, you have to regroup. And it's a different dynamic. You might have to insist on the one pass to be a regroup versus a forced pass that's a turnover. But
I think there, Wally, if they get between the dots with the puck, they have options.
Yeah.
It's when they're skating along the boards.
Yeah.
They don't have very many options, and
I like the chips into space rather than a dump in. I mean, there's sometimes in a game you got to manage it, and you're up 1-0 with 2 minutes to go, and you can't turn it over. Obviously, you can't necessarily go back. I don't want to say safe, but just the smarter play. But I'd love to see our team, and I know this is an evolution of his practice plans, and I know we're going to see it, is a few more chip plays, chip in behind the D, not necessarily a dump in where you have someone coming with speed. And
how are the goalies at playing the puck in your league? Like if you dump it, is the goalie setting up the breakout or no?
I think I referred to the dump as a far corner pass. Goalie can't touch it. It's a different, because they have so much speed. I agree with you, Cassie. Chipping's the first possession option. But they've built so much speed on direct attack through the neutral zone that smart dump, not just shoot it in and forecheck, it's a dump for possession. Theoretically, it's a tactical way of maintaining possession to take advantage of all the speed you built up. But you're right, chipping for possession. But Tom's point, carry the puck to the middle of the ice in the neutral zone. That makes sense. Pass options are going to be, got two of them.
Well, I mean, if the goalies are not good at playing it, a hard dump is also really good, because like that messes up the goalie too. I mean, then you're getting the goalie to come out of the net. So it just kind of depends on what level the goalies are at. Like, would you guys have any knowledge?
Well, they vary, right? But it's not a big strength of the goalies.
Okay.
That they can set the puck up properly and all that,
They really work on it though now, I find, and they want to be really good, they're starting
I guess
to
you don't know
understand.
you don't know what you're getting yourself into prior to the game.
Not on most teams. Like we play the northern teams once, so we've never seen well, we can watch on Flow Hockey, but
Is Flow
it's,
Hockey like live barn? Like that's what just happens at the rink? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Each
No,
team is
well, then you can
responsible
watch
to
it.
set it up.
You can watch
Like-
it after.
Oh,
Yeah.
And you can even break
you're
it
actually
down.
filming it.
Each
Oh,
team
I
has
gotcha.
it's a volunteer position, and it's like
Gotcha.
pretty. It's really good.
Yeah, so it's much better than the live barn, which is just the camera that's in the rinks now that happened during COVID. Like it's just like a
That
fisheye
distorted
camera.
rink.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
don't
So you
like
get some
that
good
funny looking
video.
rink.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No,
it's good. It's
yeah.
pretty good.
Well, we're supposed to also get this Instat breakdown, and apparently the girls all get it, but I don't get this. We pay for it, but it's every shift and all the shots.
Yeah,
and
we used to
the
use Instat all
stats.
the time. But how come you
Yeah.
don't get it, Tom?
Don't ask me. I asked
Yeah.
about it the other day.
I mean, you would
Yeah,
love
we
it.
should get
I got
Emily
a
to
couple
set
of
you
them,
up.
but that's about it.
Like, I mean, the
But like Sammy,
Instat
we
is
can
right
watch
up your alley.
Brooks shifts. We can watch the whole game. We can watch just Brooks shifts. We can. I'm trying to think what else is on there.
You could watch, like, you could say, how does, like, the goalie you're about to play, you could watch every goal against that goalie. Like, that's really cool, you know?
Yeah. The only thing is we don't have access to other kids. Well, I don't know about you, Tom. It's interesting
Well,
because
when they
Brad has
send it
this.
to me, I got access to everybody.
So Brad has access through the Flames. He can punch in Brooke Pascal, and all this information comes up.
Yeah.
That's the program they pay for. Whereas I'm not sure as parents, like I can't access, the coach might be different, the head coach, but I can't access another player's shifts on my team. I don't have
Yeah,
the
but when I get it,
permissions.
I can access basically everything.
Yeah. Whereas I,
But-
as a parent, could not.
But
Just my
that's
own
why
kid.
I have them video on my iPad, because for some unknown reason I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe try on your regular computer rather than your iPad.
But they have to send it to me.
Oh.
Get it. We
And-
should get Emily to look into that because you should be getting
Yeah.
it, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I talked to one of the managers the other day and said it'd be nice if I would get this, because
It's really easy to go down a rabbit hole on Instat. Like, you're going to love it, Tom. This is going to be your whole new life right here.
I've had a few, and I got it regularly last year, but this
Okay.
year for
Yeah.
some reason I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
But I get, one of the parents charts all the shots during the game and does a plus minus and the passes, and he sends me a photo of it. He
I love
texts
that.
it to me every period, and then I have it right there, and I know where we're getting shots from and giving up shots. And
Does your
Who
team
am I
have a
playing?
Christmas tournament coming up?
Hmm?
Does your team have a Christmas tournament coming up? No.
no, excuse me, no, we don't. It's a break. We were
Oh.
we went to Kelowna early October,
Mm.
and yeah, there was a thing in Lethbridge. All 14 teams were there to save on travel for the North team. We played 3 North teams, so that was kind of like a tournament, but it was counted as regular season games. But we don't have anything Christmas. What I'm doing in Christmas is they're trying to get their hockey started in Jasper again, so I'm going to go there and with a skating coach and do a 3-day.
Oh, amazing.
Thing
Was there
with their-
anything that happened with the rink? Like,
No, the rink is kind of in the fire came down the west side.
mhm.
So this guy that's bringing me there, his house was one of the first ones just totally gone. And before the rink, there's a big, about 2-block long park across the road, and then across the street is the schools, and the rink is the other end of the field, maybe a block long. So it was kind of insulated. But they just put in the ice 2 weeks ago, I think. And I used to go there every summer for about a dozen years, and about 5-6 times they bring me to do a 3-day thing. So the guy that's just taken over the managing the rink, he's he's got me and Gaston going there. We're going to drive on Boxing Day and do 3 days. And
Oh, that's so great of you.
yeah,
Tough times for them, but something for them to look forward to too.
yeah, like about a third of the town burnt right down.
Yeah.
Sammy and Cassie, when I began the call, I had actually called Kim McCullough yesterday trying to get a hold of her to talk about her coming on because she's doing a video of the PWHL breakdown, and it's all looking at hockey IQ and execution on the ice. She does an amazing job of it. And because we began this conversation talking about hockey IQ, can you teach it or not? Are boys ahead of girls? Da 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 da. I'm hoping, Sammy, we can get a conversation going with Kim to get her on, because when she puts video on the screen, I can edit it. And that's the kind of stuff I share with girls hockey coaches. Those video clips. She did one quite a while ago, 2 years ago, and it was outstanding video highlights. And I guess my question, Cassie, is does Brooke watch video at all? Would she watch a clip, like if I sent clips to the coaches and you could show her one clip, would she look at it with you?
Yeah, we don't let her on social media. Like she's on Snapchat with her buddies. But like Instagram and other things, we don't allow her to be on it. So I know a lot of the kids will follow in particular on Instagram, some of the skills stuff, and then they try to do it in practices and those types of things. But she would, like, she watches her Instat stuff, and she, if it came through Team Snap in general, she would access it. She would look at it. She looks at all the practice plans and all that kind of stuff. But maybe one disadvantage for her is just we just don't allow her on certain things, and that's just a security thing for our family. But yeah, she would definitely watch it.
Cassie, I was saying to Wally earlier when he was asking about Kim. So I don't know if you've seen Kim's new, so she has a whole new business thing that just came out, Wally, called the Orange Machine. And so it used to be that these videos were available and she would dissect them, and they're really awesome because she like talks through each shift, and so she screen captures, and anyways, it's awesome. It's through her own personal website. But then with this new Orange Machine, Wally, what I'm curious about is if it's going to be behind a paywall. So obviously she's looking for people to sign up for this program, which will include a lot of video from the PWHL, and because she's gone to a lot of work to do all of this. So I would be curious to ask her too if some will be in the public domain, which would be super helpful, I think, for most people. But obviously she's done all the work behind it too. So if you can get her on and we can see some of it in this format, would be amazing. Just like you did with, I mean, she's done it multiple times, but when you had Daryl on too, and all of the others were super helpful.
Well, Cassie, my question to you is, looking at Instat, when we were talking about Wayne Gretzky scoring his first goal, Tom mentioned his dad sat down at the kitchen table with pepper and salt shakers, and they talked through things. And his dad asked him the question, where was everybody when you scored that goal or in that situation? So at 5 years old, Wayne was processing that information. And so my question is, we're trying to develop hockey IQ and hockey sense. Could a parent like yourself with your daughter, Brooke, look at one Instagram clip of her shifts and talk about it? What does she see? What does she think? And both of you, being hockey very knowledgeable, just having that conversation to see the depth of her thinking that goes into seeing more than she would have, and then being much more aware moving forward. Does that possible? Does it make sense? Is it too much to ask at this age? I don't know. But
Yeah. I think for me, I'm overcautious of pressuring her. If she comes to me and wants to walk through things and the Instastat, she will. One thing I've noticed about her is she's watching more Flames. She goes to the games with her friends, but she is watching, like if I have the game on, she'll come sit with me and watch the game. And it's interesting because Elias Lindholm last year on his weak side, he would turn his stick over so that it was actually on the forehand blade on the faceoffs. And she did this year in the tryouts. And I was like, how the heck did she know that? And then I asked her after, and she's like, Elias Lindholm. So I think watching more hockey is a great way of teaching hockey IQ. Not, and obviously your own shifts, but I think just watching hockey in general, I think has helped her. And because we're overcautious of pressuring her, and rightly or wrongly, I don't know, but um, I wouldn't necessarily, I'd say, hey, your Instat shifts have come up. Do you want to watch them? And if she's like, no, then we don't. If she's like, yeah, then I'm like, okay, we'll watch them. But I don't, we probably could do it more for sure. We could probably do a lot more things. Like this year, she's doing power skating and on Thursday mornings early and different things. But I do. I think hockey IQ can be taught just by watching, and going over when we do go over her shifts. I'm like, hey, what'd you think here? And this is what you should do, maybe next time. And some days, she's a teenager, she's receptive to it, and some days she's not. So it all just depends.
yeah. Well,
But I wouldn't sit with salt shakers and stuff. I wouldn't. That's just not us.
yeah,
And not that there was anything wrong with that, obviously, but just I think there was a different relationship there, and Wayne was at a different level than most, if not all. So, yeah, yeah,
yeah. The individual family and the whole dynamic of whether or not you can or would or should. I'm thinking of Walter Gretzky and Wayne Gretzky. Obviously, the dynamic worked out quite naturally and quite well. But we're,
But it
we're
is interesting that the dynamic did not work out with the other three siblings, right? It's like the Serena and Venus. The dynamic worked out really well with two kids in the family, but did not work out with everybody in the family. So, sometimes that relationship is there, like Cass said, and sometimes that's just not it.
Well, that's something I never even thought of. I'm just thinking, oh, if there's a hockey knowledgeable parent, they could look at one shift. I don't want to overload. And Cassie, I always thought I did too much video, as you know, and players would tune it out after 5 minutes. And that's the way coaches were, and they still are. Too much video. And Dominic Pittis, coaching at Stockton, did a video session near the end of the season on special teams. And he sent it to me, and it was like 20 minutes long. And I said, way too much. It's great for coaches to look at, but I don't think players want to hear that long, and they want to play the game. So later on, he changed the assignment to players breaking up into 4 units of 5, and they looked at the video highlights and they broke them down themselves and discussed what they could do and would do. And the feedback was it was the best video session they've ever experienced.
mm-hmm.
So just the idea of players being allowed to think and process the information, and for coaches to know what they know or don't know is critical, because it can grow the hockey IQ. Now,
I wouldn't shortchange yourself. While I appreciated your video, and I loved when you brought in NHL power plays and a level that was higher than us. That's how we learned. And so I do think anything over 15 minutes, anything over a 15-minute meeting is too long. I think at 15 minutes, that's boom. That's like plenty of time, if not less. But like honestly, I learned more through watching those videos than when that first sort of came, when I was at the Ovals, kind of when I saw it for the first time with you or Thomas, I loved when you guys showed NHL clips and power plays and penalty kills and D zones and all that kind of stuff. I felt like I learned something. So I think video is important, and this generation, they want it immediately. So that's why we see the iPads on the benches and they're looking at their shifts, post shifts. But I do know there's some coaches in the NHL that wish the iPads weren't on the benches because they feel like their players are disengaged from the team game as they're sitting on the bench. So, if, for example, in the NHL, just based on how it is, a guy gets hit and, you don't like it, that some guys are on the bench with their iPads, they have no idea what's just gone on. And I do know that some NHL coaches feel that their players are disengaged from the team game and the team management of the game because they're looking at their shift.
Interesting.
Previous.
Yeah, makes
but
sense.
these players want it instantaneous. They want it, it's social media, right? So they want information right then, right there. And it's just a different mindset.
I've got the opposite point of view of when I see NHL players looking at video, I see it as a positive. In other words, I'm a coach. I want to know what they're thinking. It's not like when they're looking at a shift that went well or didn't go well. And often I've seen them look at a bad shift, a goal against, and they're talking to each other. Wow, that's ultimate self coaching by the players. I don't think any coach in the NHL has the cerebral awareness that the player does on the ice in the speed of the moment to make decisions like they have to. So I go back to Daryl Belfry's session 4 years ago. He edited, he had Crosby, I think McDavid and Patrick Kane. They were at a camp in Florida. And Patrick was his little protege since he was 8 years old. And Patrick's playing in Chicago. And he says, Patrick, tonight we've got the bar space set aside with the video. I got an idea. I want you to go over one of your shifts and talk through your shift with all those, the 4 or 5, Matthews and those players sitting there. And he did that. And I have a video of that conversation with Daryl he was on our session when we did it. And it was so revealing what Patrick Kane saw in his awareness of what was going on, what hand they were, where they were located, his processing of information, like it blew me away. And Cassie, that's why I thought if coaches are questioning players looking at iPads, I don't think they appreciate how much the players actually know and understand and process.
You think they should be doing that when their team's out there playing? Or
well,
is there a better time to do that?
Oh no, I think when they come back, the iPads are there and they want to look at it. It's immediate. The situation just happened. They can process it. Yeah, they may not be watching that 1 or 2 minute shift that's on the ice, but they need to learn from what they just been through. I think it's a payoff, a huge payoff.
Yeah, it's different times, and some players they won't look at it till post game. Some players need it immediate. This generation just wants more feedback and quickly. Technology's kind of brought that where sometimes I knew exactly what I did wrong, and that's the last thing I wanted was as soon as I got off a coach, sort of like, hey, you should, no shit, I should have done this. I get it.
Yeah.
Life happened on the ice, I guess, but. But listen, you guys, I got 2 meetings coming up here and I got a shower. So thanks for having me on in my sweaty clothes. And
Thanks
Sammy,
for
great to
joining
see
us.
you. Yeah.
Good to see you, Cass.
Yeah. Say hi to your fam for me and we'll see
You as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'll see you later, Tom.
Yep. See ya.
Bye. Bye,
He had
Walter.
Max Bell.
Yep.
Okay, well, I probably should go too because it's past my lunchtime, so I have to go have a little bit of food. But
Where are you
it was
living
so good
now?
to see you guys.
Whereabouts
Thanks
are you
very
now,
much, Sammy. And I'm going to try to get a hold of Kim, and you might call her before to talk about her video like you were going to let me know. I left her a message yesterday, and with
Okay.
you and Cassie being on today, it'd be a good opportunity to promote female hockey and her program.
Hmm.
And I think we just want kids to be smarter, better players, and we can pass that on in some way. It gives me something to do. So take care.
I love it. Tom, you asked where I was. I'm in Mississauga now, but I was in Costa Rica. I just got back from there. I was working there. And this past month has been great for like amazing travel because I got to work in Vancouver and I got to work in Cabo in Mexico. So some nice weather. But the previous month I was in Boissevain, Manitoba. And then I was in Des Moines, Iowa. And next month I'm going to Cold Lake, Alberta. So you got to take the good, the warm weather with the cold weather too.
Well, we got stuck in Grand Prairie because it rained.
Oh gosh.
And then we had to stay an extra day, but we made the game. It was a late afternoon game because we had a 5 hour
Do you know if
drive.
there's any way to fly to Cold Lake or do you have to drive from Edmonton?
I'm not sure. There probably some of those little airlines.
Yeah, I looked at, I don't know if I'm just not looking up the right thing. There's a military base there, but so they have a tarmac, but it doesn't seem like anything flies into there, but maybe I'm just not finding the right thing. I was just wondering if you had ever flown up there.
Sammy, you should be able to go with a jet fighter. He'll pick you up at Calgary and take you back.
Right, yeah, I'm sure. Just like that.
Okay.
You know who I met for the first time in Costa Rica too, and this is of their generation, was who's a speaker, is Ryan Walter and his wife.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So just lovely people, just amazing. So that's what they do full time. They travel, they live on a tiny island in the Vancouver Islands, and then they travel probably 150 days a year doing team building type stuff.
So are you doing talks when you go all this traveling?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you still broadcasting?
Yeah, we have the U18s are coming up. So I only get to do the Hockey Canada broadcasts. So the U18s come up, I think they start like January 7th, 8th, around there. So we're doing all the Canada US games and then doing all the quarters and semis and finals.
Yeah. Have you gotten into the male game like Cassie and Jen?
No, so I have this, my real job as a speaker, it makes me, or allows me to travel a bunch. But I haven't pursued it per se. I did 2 games for TSN on International Women's Days of various years. But by no means am I in their system. But yeah, I still see Jen on occasion. We had Thanksgiving together, and yeah, she works so hard. I mean, Tom, what Cassie, like it just, you're watching hockey all the time and you're traveling and you're doing so much. So this job already makes me travel enough. I feel like it's not something, it's kind of nice. So we do the rivalry, U18s and Worlds. It's almost like you just kind of dabble in it. But with a young family and this other job that kind of takes me around, it's I feel like it's a lot right now, So I don't know that would be. What's that?
Toned it down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But she was like last year, or when I did 2 years ago, she was gone almost all the time. But when we were driving, she bussed back with us, and they sent her American. What's the American one called? Anyway, they sent her a whole bunch of clips because she was doing the.
Oh, like TNT Turner, yeah.
Yeah, she was doing a broadcast on Tuesday.
Or ESPN. Oh, ESPN.
Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they sent her all kinds of clips, so she had a background on both teams.
Yeah.
So she was working a lot on the trip.
Yeah, it becomes a lot, but they work so hard, and I totally admire what they do, but it's, I don't know that I want that to be what I do full time. I love professional speaking. I feel like it, you get to be with a different client every week and you get to learn about their industry. So, like one of the events was real estate, luxury real estate. And then the next week was, road safety supervisors of Ontario. So like learning how the roads are constructed. And so you get this like little, I did the Cement Association of Ontario recently. Just did like Toronto District School Board. So you get to like have this, it's almost like you're watching the Learning Network and nobody gives you a test at the end. Like you just get to learn and meet people where they're at, and so I really love it. And I get to talk about our team, Wally, all the time. I get to talk about why I think the national team was so successful for so many years, the ups and the downs. And so that also kind of keeps me in the game because I'm talking hockey all the time, just from a very different perspective. So yeah, I love it. I wouldn't trade this job for anything. So it's fun.
Sammy,
That's
you have
great.
no idea, watching you and Cheryl and Jen, those players from that team, doing what you're doing now, and Cassie, I just sit back and smile because I know what we went through trying to gain some credibility for female hockey, and then now having you on television and commentating the way you guys do, it's so good and detailed and pertinent and poignant.
Well, thank you, Wally. That means a lot. It also is really surreal, right? Having lived in a certain era and knowing where we are now is amazing. But it took a lot of people to get it to that place. And I feel lucky because I feel like I'm just kind of at the right place at the right time. I think of somebody like France St. Louis who could have had this. Imagine the jobs that she could have had in the game. Or Angela James. I do a lot of work with Angela James now, and like their intelligence and smarts and like just absolutely amazing because they had to fight for it so much more than we ever did, and had to learn the game in a way that nobody could ever say that they couldn't play. So incredible.
Sammy, I was watching Hockey Night in Canada, between period commentator, and Jen Botterill dissected a particular shift in such a way Don McLean and the other male broadcasters' chins dropped. It was almost
Amazing.
like she embarrassed them.
Yeah.
And I actually phoned Cal right after.
Amazing.
And I said, Cal, did you hear and see what I just saw? She did such a detailed, in-depth, simplified explanation of what happened that the respect they showed with their chins dropped was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually embarrassing to me, but
Well,
I take
it's amazing to hear that because I see how hard Cassie and Jen and Cheryl, I see how hard they work at what they do and how smart and intelligent they are. And then how they still get like ripped up in social media and like people are so disrespectful and so unkind and so mean. And so they still have to deal with so much, like just to be seen as good enough, they have to be like 10 times better. And they are. That's amazing. They're paving the way for so many future women in broadcasting and girls in broadcasting that this is like a path that they can take.
It's like it's a guy's world. So having women on is like not acceptable yet.
Mm-hmm.
But to me and to people who know hockey, it is acceptable.
Yeah, to you two, we're preaching to the choir, so we appreciate that.
Well, Megan Mickelson, she does.
Oh yeah, Megan does the Oilers, right?
For the Flames.
Yeah, she's awesome too. She did the
really
Olympics.
Good.
Yeah, her and Shannon Zabados did CBC Olympics, and they are very good too. such smart players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, well, I'm off to have lunch, but so great to see both of you. And I will work on Kim for this week. I'll let you know how that goes.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care. Have a
Bye-bye.
good lunch.
Have a good practice at Max Bell.
Okay, thanks.
Wow, Tom, eh? Quite a
Yeah,
getting her
I'm glad
on and
I
getting
asked.
Cassie on. That was sort of a slam dunk.
Yeah, I'm glad that Cassie was able to join us because she just sent me I haven't seen it yet. I think it's some game or something she'd like to do. Take a look at it.
Yeah.
I'm having a trouble finding this diagram of this one thing I want to do. Yeah. Because it could be coded in so many different ways.
Well, you keep up the good work, Tom. And who do you play this weekend?
I read.
I've got two things going on at once that day. I don't know if I'm going to get to that game. I sure wish I could, but all the best.
Yeah, well, we beat them pretty good, and then they beat us by a couple. So
Yeah.
so
You guys are making each other better. It's fun to watch.
yeah, it'll be fun. It should be a good game.
Take care, Tom, and stay in touch, buddy.
All right, see you, Wally.